Okay, so for the first round, what we're going to do is we're going to give them 3 minutes, and they're each going to be able to introduce themselves.
I get to start. My name's Stephanie Miller. I am currently serving as the mayor of Hiram City. I'm serving my 3rd term. And the last 3 years, I've taken over the role of the city administrator also. So I've been working there full time. And that's given me a lot of insight to the importance of following policies and procedures. I've had some of the reasons that I ran is because I felt like we needed to have good communication between all of the people, the staff, the county, myself, and that's really important. If you don't have communication, then you've got somebody that's just making decisions. I didn't have anything written, so I'm done.
I'm George Staines. I just want to tell you I'm familiar with this room. I spent 6 years sitting somewhere in this room participating in community meetings that were here and the council meetings. I was the county attorney from 2002 to 2008. During that time, everyone that I worked with in the county was cooperative, they were collaborative, and they were friends. We enjoyed that time. The friendships I made in working with those people are the friendships that have enriched my life. I enjoyed working particularly with the public safety people, Chad and the others that are there now. Many of them I remember from those days when we were trying cases. We built this building. And you may say, well, it was here before, but the truth is when we started on this building, we had to tear it apart. And when we were done tearing it apart, you could stand on the dirt in the basement and look up and see the rafters. There were no floors. We built a new building inside this old building. That's how this came out. There is nothing in here that is from the original building. We copied some of the moldings. I've done a lot of that, taken old buildings and tried to restore them and fix them. I've also taken a lot of businesses that had difficulties and fixed those. After I left being county attorney, I went over to Cache Valley Bank, which I have an interest in, and we bought failing banks, we helped failing businesses, we paddled through the Great Recession. When we came out the other end of the Great Recession, we had 20 branches, and we were a larger bank. Understanding the financial interaction in a financial institution is complex. I think I can bring those skills to Cache County, and I think Cache County needs those skills. I also bring an effort to restore the kindness and interaction that I so much treasured when I was here before. Thank you.
Good evening, delegates. My name is Micah Safeston. My name is not pronounced how it looks. It kind of sounds like saves $10. I am a career public servant. I've spent my entire adult life here in this valley. I was born in Utah, but raised back east. My dad was in the Navy and later in the auto industry. And I chose this place shortly after coming home from my LDS mission because I recognized what a wonderful place Cache Valley is. And I've spent my career serving this community. And I've loved that. Now, when I say I've spent my time serving this community, I'm referring to time spent working at the city of Logan, but also 2 years as the first full-time policy analyst for the Cache County Council. That experience gave me frontline, firsthand knowledge of the issues facing this county. And there are serious issues facing this county. Tonight, I think we're going to talk about a lot of those things. This includes things like the budget and the rising expenses of county government. But it also includes important issues such as the division and the lack of unity we've seen in county government as of late. In particular, the relationship between the legislative body, the county council, and the executive body, that is, the county executive. Now, I have a plan to restore that relationship. I have a plan for our budget. I'm committed, as the next county executive, to presenting a budget early, presenting a budget in July. In the past, county budgets have been delivered late. Today is September 8th, and we still don't have one. We don't have one for our budget that starts January 1st of next year. That means the legislative body doesn't have the time to look through it, to see how can we avoid a significant tax increase? How can we avoid spending money out of our budget, out of our savings accounts? I have a plan to have these conversations early. I think county government is best when it's in the background of things. What I've said to delegates these last few weeks is that the only two times you should really encounter county government is when you're at the county fair or if you're in jail. I want to make this county government run in the background so that you don't have to read about it in the newspaper every other week. I have a plan and I have experience that shows that I'm ready to do that. So I'm excited to be here tonight and talk about these things with you. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Craig Ander, and thank you for coming. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your effort to do this, and it's important. This is an important time to do this. I'm a fifth-generation Cache Valley-ite. My ancestors helped settle Hiram. They helped settle Hyde Park, and we've been here ever since. I love this county. I love this valley. We have served in many capacities, my family, over the years to serve the people of Cache County because we believe in Cache County and we could see what it can be, and we want to hold those values true. I was raised not far from here. I was a young boy here in Logan, and my dad bought an ice business. We bagged ice and we delivered ice to stores. I couldn't have a better childhood. I worked side by side with my father, and he taught me things that are crucial. He taught me leadership at a young age. He taught me that we have to maintain our reputation. It's more than just delivering ice bags. It's about maintaining our reputation. On the side, he also did some farming, and we farmed in the south end of the valley. We eventually moved out there where I attended Mountain Crest. At Mountain Crest, I met my sweetheart. She waited for me, and I've been married to her for 30 years. We have 5 children together. I have then spent my professional life on the other end of the valley in North Logan. I've been a football coach for Skyview. I've been the football coach for Green Canyon. I've helped out some other programs, and I've been an educator. I teach young people how to manage their finances. I teach them about economics. I teach them about how to invest their money. That it's not important how much you make, it's important how you spend that money that counts. And because of that, being a school teacher, I chose that profession because of it could have the opportunity to have impact and influence on great people, young people. And that impact and influence was about helping them make good decisions now that can help them forever. As an educator, you know educators don't make a ton of money, but that's okay. I didn't go in it to make a ton of money. I went in it to serve. I went in it to work hard and to fulfill these other responsibilities. But because they don't make a lot of money, we learned how to be frugal. I'm not a big believer in fiscal responsibility. I'm a big believer in frugal responsibility, and be frugal with our money and carry that into the office. As a coach, I got to teach young men. I got to work with young men to teach them how to win on the football field. I also got to help them in their development to be good young men and to be great people. And I want to bring that to this office. You know, we need good people in here. We need good leadership in here. I'm excited to serve, and I'm excited to be a leader here in Cache County. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Wow, so glad to see a crowded room, and Thank you, delegates, members of the public, for attending and showing your interest and dedication to your local government and your community. See a lot of familiar faces, many that I've served with through the several years I've been involved in the Republican Party in various roles. I won't get too much into detail on that, but it's contained in my flyer and other details out there. But my name is Mark Hurd. I'm currently seeking the office of county executive. However, I've been serving currently on the county council in my third year in my first term. I represent the Northeast District, so as we serve in representative government, it's my privilege to be a part of the deliberative body that establishes legislative policy for our community. And I feel like we have been quite proactive and very effective in moving forward with an agenda and an effort to effectively represent the opinion and the will of the people of Cache County. My priorities and purposes for running for office are at the base, or what I perceive to be the base role of government, which is public safety and infrastructure that is vital to our economy, the infrastructure being roads, connectivity, but also the waterways and the water in our community. I have served in several capacities over the last 20 years, proactively working to protect our water rights, to ensure access for those that are subscribers in our canal company or shareholders in our canal company. I've also spent 2 terms on Hyde Park City Council. I spent a term, well, 2 terms, but some split on the Planning and Zoning Committee there, so I'm very familiar with the function and the role of the legislative body. Also, in that capacity, I'm very familiar with what it takes to work well with the executive side and how we need to be a collaborative effort. Doesn't mean we have to agree, doesn't mean the council always has to agree, doesn't mean the executive's office has to have the exact same perspective. But what we do have to do is treat each other kindly. We have to treat each other with dignity. We have to have the respect that when we disagree, it's okay, but it's also okay to stand firm, dig in, take a hard look at the budget, take a hard look at the issues that are before us. We have to ask ourselves, how can we do more with less? At the same time, we cannot compromise the basic service that we need to provide. And when we find ourselves up against that wall, we have to be willing to make the hard political choice and do something that may be unfavorable, but for the long term is a matter of progress. I'm grateful to be here, grateful to share this floor with many people who I know, people I've known here for a long time, some I've just gotten to know in the race. I'm grateful for your time and the opportunity to share. Thank you.
So first of all, I'd like to start off by thanking Natalie and the Cache GOP for organizing this event. I know that all of this leading up to the election, I'm sure, has been a ton of work. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, and thank you all for being here. My name is Ryan Doctor. First and foremost, I'm a father and a husband. By profession, I'm a scientist. I worked in the biotechnology industry for almost a decade, had a successful career there. After a while, I decided that I wanted to take some time off and focus on my family, which has been incredibly rewarding. So right now I'm a stay-at-home dad, and my daughter is honestly the light of my life. I love her so much. And we moved to Cache County because of the wonderful community that we have here. And within a couple of months, within moving here, we had a very difficult situation for my family, and I'm going to go in more in depth in my campaign speech at the convention, but so I don't want to give too many spoilers. But there were a lot of people that reached out and helped me in a time of need, helped my family, and that spirit of service is something that I want to continue forward. I want to be able to serve in the community and to be able to emphasize personal freedoms and personal responsibility. I feel like that's the central dogma of conservatism, and that's what I truly believe. I'm grateful that I can be here with you all today, and I look forward to serving.
Hello there. My name is Dirk Anderson, and I am currently serving as your Chief Deputy County Executive. Public service has been my entire career. I'm a third-generation public servant, And for some people who like to make jokes about government workers, I'll tell you I'm very proud of the fact that my grandmother was a social worker in rural Illinois. And I know that she spent a lot of time with young mothers who didn't have a father in the home and had to take care of the kids. My father served first as a sheriff's deputy in my home county. And then he went over and became a correctional officer. And when he passed away, he was still serving there. And now I've been able to serve our community here for the last 3.5 years. And it's been a really interesting experience. I've learned a lot about working together, or the need to. I've learned a lot about how personal politics can ruin the creation of great policies, and it just breaks down the maximum effect that we can get out of our government. But I've also been able to work with our department heads and all of our Cache County employees, and they are amazing. They work hard, they're dedicated, and they just want to be able to do their job well. And when the leaders of the county are working really hard to work collaboratively with each other, that will work. So a little background about my education. I have degrees in public policy, which means you go to school to learn how to help government and elected officials make their decisions. You analyze everything. My kids won't go into Walmart with me. Rory sends me to Walmart to get mustard. It's not specific enough. You've got to tell me, do you want a brand or not? Do you want brand name? What size? I'm going to sit in there and analyze the cost per ounce. And it takes me forever. Now, on the other hand, I'm also a super people person. That's the other reason they won't go into Walmart with me, because I end up talking to people I don't know. And it takes forever. So there is a good combination there. We need people that love people and love to serve, but we also need people who are willing to get into the weeds and really analyze every single thing we're looking at. And I've been blessed to be able to do that here in the county. As chief deputy, I also learned you don't necessarily have control over your boss or those you serve who get to make the decisions. However, what I have been able to do is work really hard to get them the information they need to make the best decisions they can. Thank you.
This time, you're only going to have just a couple of minutes for each question. Now, these are questions that I gathered from candidates. I've gathered them from my executive committee. I gathered them from different precinct officers that were calling me saying, make sure you ask these guys these questions. And my list was long, friends. This is a topic that means a lot to a lot of people. So as I give you these questions, no, it's not an exact question. I want you to expound on it as it is appropriate. At this time, more than ever, our county executive position is in the limelight. As a collaborative leadership with the county council, that's kind of the big hang of it, this question. The county executive must work closely with the county council to succeed. What experiences in your life have prepared you to be the strong leader Cache County not only needs, but deserves?
Okay, I'll go first. I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry, I am so nervous.
These people are scary.
Yeah, no, it's fine. One of the things that I think is really important as a mayor, and I've also been a council member, is to know your place. A mayor is administrative when you have council members that are legislative, and there's a difference. And as an administrator, you can gather details, you can do everything you can to be able to help support the council in their decisions. The other thing that I feel is very important is the time spent with the supervisors and being able to find out what their needs are, what their workers, those that work under them, what their needs are, and then be able to work together to make it a good place.
Will you please say your name before you answer your question?
Sure, it's still George Staines. Okay. Working with people is one of the most important skills in everything we do. And how you interact with other people, whether you listen to them, whether you try and understand their viewpoint, or whether you're trying to persuade them to do something. Those interpersonal skills are critical to success. I don't know what has happened here in this room in terms of the council and the executive not getting along. I don't really know, and it's hard to take apart a relationship that isn't working and try and figure it out. Maybe it worked most of the time well. I know I've always found that listening to people and trying to understand their viewpoint is the most critical thing. Cutting them off, not letting them express their viewpoint, those kind of things really undermine discussions. I think also we have to give people credit. One of the problems that we have is we don't acknowledge other people. We're not grateful for their contributions. Those kind of things happen, and they poison interaction with other people. We have to do this a little bit better than we've been doing it, frankly. And I think I'm in a position to say I've been able to work with teams that have been able to accomplish things, who have been able to bridge their differences and move forward significantly. Thank you.
So I mentioned in my introduction that I spent a little over 2 years working as the senior policy analyst for the Cache County Council. Sorry, my name is Micah Safeston, still is. I spent a little over 2 years working as senior policy analyst for the Cache County Council. I worked with 6 of the 7 current county council members and had a lot of experiences solving complex, difficult problems with them, working hand in hand with them. I'll share a specific example. In the fall of 2023, the council identified that it wanted to be spending more time talking about some of the issues it was facing, such as the budget or certain policy issues. Now, there are certain committees in the county that include council members, but there really weren't at the time committees that belonged to the council. Think of, if you pay attention to Congress or the Utah legislature, you see that those legislative bodies have committees, and that's where most of the work of a legislative branch happens, is in committees. So in late 2023, I wrote an ordinance that we then put before the council that created, it really created 2 committees and then sort of recreated a third. The Audit Committee, the Ordinance and Policy Review Committee, and the Appropriations Committee. And we staffed these committees, and we filled them with council members. And those committees continue to operate today. And it's been a huge help for the county council in making these difficult decisions to help them connect with county employees and department heads and solve these difficult problems that the county is facing, that really you need to be talking to the boots on the ground, and that's the county employees, and those committees give them the opportunity to do that. Just one experience that I can share kind of relates to that.
My name is Craig Ander, and I want to talk about something you mentioned there at the end. You mentioned the word leadership, and that's what I think I want to focus on in this question. I got a great question from one of you delegates that asked, what's the difference between an elected official and a leader? An elected official receives the votes. A leader inspires, motivates, works with others, and comes to some common conclusion to create a mission and a vision that we can then all go forward. And that's what I want to bring to this position, is leadership. You know, I'm an outsider. Everyone here has got a lot of political experience, and they've served in the public realm. in that capacity, and I'm grateful for this service. But I'm a conservative outsider that wants to come in and lead us to where we want to go as a county, where we want to go together. That takes collaboration, that takes working with people, it takes having a vision. It takes establishing a culture that exists within the government, employees themselves, but also a culture in how we interact with everybody in the government. You know, the question about working with the council, there's some very simple lanes that need to be followed. The council sets legislative policy and programs. The executive carries those out. Whether I like it or not, or whether the executive likes it or not, that's their role. That's what they carry out. Now, there's ways to discuss that and put that together, and that's working together to create a great atmosphere, create a great culture, that then we can make good decisions. We can work together, and we can enjoy being with one another. So I think the key is leadership right here, and I bring that conservative, grassroots level leadership. I've had the chance to lead a lot of football teams, and I'm telling you what, if you can lead 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, you can lead a lot of people. So thank you.
Okay, Mark, just a minute, please. We have 1, 2, 3. We have a few seats up here. If you would like to come up here and sit down, you're welcome to. Okay, they're like, no, we don't want to be up there. You're welcome to join up here.
Thanks, Natalie. Again, my name is Mark Hurd. To focus on the answer to this question, so to me, leadership is about listening first, seeking understanding, understanding that everyone's going to come with their opinions, perspectives, passions. We welcome that. You know, a leader is open to all perspectives. In order to be effective in any organization, you have to come forward with what is the best plan or the most effective fit, which I perceive comes from a collaborative effort through listening, discussion, bringing backgrounds that may be not commonly shared, but sharing a common goal. And in an elected organization or a political organization such as, you know, the county and the role with the executive, there's a broad perspective that comes from the opinion of the delegates, the opinion of the constituency. And at times, you know, we all will have a point where we are at disagreement on maybe the first pass, but by the second pass, we ought to be moving forward and making progress. And the leader is someone who is willing to facilitate those conversations, to not shut down discussion for fear of being in opposition to my own opinion, you know, the individual opinion. In an organization like Cache County, we're seeking what is the best government action. And the county council's role is to set that policy. And the county executive's job with the committees like Micah described, and I'm glad he points that out because he's absolutely right. A great policy and great perspective has come from those efforts in those committees. And as we pull together the stakeholders who have the boots on the ground information or the firsthand experience, and then take that, share that through the council process, and then once the decision is made by the council, the executive's role is to ensure that that is documented correctly through all the processes. The recorder handles that, but the various offices throughout the county need to work together, and the executive has a small role in making sure that those things happen, a big role in facilitating the discussion. Thank you.
I'm Ryan Doctor. So I believe in building relationships on shared values, a foundation of shared values. You know, I welcome disagreements. I think that disagreements, and as long as they're done and presented professionally, that it's actually good for a thriving democracy. And so I welcome those disagreements as long as we have that shared value. And one thing that struck to me when attending the council meeting is that the council members, they do have a great desire to help the citizens of Cache County. You can tell that they truly care about the residents and building off of that foundation, because I also care about the members of this community, and I care about the residents, and I want people to be able to thrive here. And so being able to build off of that common foundation, I think will be instrumental to building a good relationship with the Cache County Council. As a scientist, I'm generally more analytical minded, and honestly, there's a surprising amount of creativity that goes into science. I'm not a politician. This is actually my first foray in the political scene, so sometimes it's good to have a little fresh face, an outsider that can come in and maybe reset some of those relationships. But what I would like to bring to this position is that analytical mind, that creative mindset, and then that foundation of a desire to help and to empower the residents of Cache County.
Dirk Anderson. My entire career has been spent in public service. Many experiences, 14 years of that, have been directly in local or state government finance. I had many experiences serving under in 3 states and 4 different governors, and primarily that was early in my career. So I watched the leaders. I watched the leaders of the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget here in Utah, of the Department of Finance, and I learned from them. Another thing that you need to know or be reminded of maybe is a part of my career was spent in Provo City. I was actually serving on the municipal council side. And so they also have a strong executive, strong legislature form of government. And so, and it also, believe it or not, was at a time where the mayor and the leader of the council did not get along. They were strong people and they had their opinions, but they had a hard time disagreeing and keeping it to the issues. I happen to have that genetic thing inside of me. I invite any one of you to come and talk to me about your greatest concerns about our county government, and I will not fluff you up. We can talk about what's right or wrong or what's good or bad about your thoughts, and then we're going to leave friends. That's the cool thing. You're going to leave feeling appreciated and feeling like you were able to share your thoughts. One experience that's key, though, is that in working with one of these committees here in the council, I quietly suggested at the end of a meeting a key element that was adopted by the council. But the county chair at that time said, the council chair said, you better not tell me about that or we might go adopt that. And I told him, go for it. It's a good policy. I don't care who gets the credit. It will help our county improve in our fiscal budget. So thank you.
All right, let's switch it.
And I don't think it's fair that we keep making her.
I agree with you. I was actually just going to suggest it.
Is that okay if we start over here?
Put Dirk in the spotlight. I like that.
Or we rotate it. So the next person to go first would be George.
I'm going to let you guys decide this.
The next one would be, how many questions do you think we have left? Enough for everyone to go first?
300.
Okay, that's enough.
I actually
Maybe
only
we'll go
have
back
2
and
more
forth.
questions, and I'm reading the cards that have been turned in to Sonia. We have some amazing cards.
Yeah.
I may just forego my questions and start reading these cards. And by the way, some of our precincts leaders in here, you guys are awesome. I'm reading these going, yeah, ask him that. We have a good crowd. Well, I want to hear this one from all of you, because this one is about your financial responsibility and your specific budget priorities. And in looking through the cards I'm reading from here, almost everyone is on this one topic. So think to yourself real quick about your budget priorities. And I'm asking you to be specific. Counties must manage tight budgets. If elected, what would you specifically establish as your fiscal priorities? Think about housing, infrastructure. A great percentage of our money goes towards infrastructure. Local development, we're having already discourse about rec centers. High-profile capital projects, your experiences possibly with those. Long-term community investments, some of your thoughts on those. I will take any of these topics. But we want to know your fiscal priorities.
2 minutes, no problem. Dirk Anderson again. To me, the fiscal priorities aren't necessarily about the programs necessarily. Public safety is a primary goal. That is the primary role of government. And then infrastructure does come next. Now, in both of those areas, have we looked at the standards by which they are funded recently? We have not. Am I suggesting the A word, an audit of either of those? No way, not when I'm running for the office, but I've proposed as part of my platform that we do a regular review. An audit may be done, but a regular review of every program in the county so that we can know what standards are out there. Now, when I've talked to the sheriff, when I've talked to fire, and especially when I started 3.5 years ago, I said, there's got to be places we can cut. And they basically responded, we are funded at below the national standards. We may not be covering the area we need to. There may be holes in our services. Well, let's look at it. Let's look at every program, and let's actually use standards. Now, the other thing is that there is a difference between clarity, budget clarity, or the buzzword transparency. Transparency is about access to the information. We need to increase transparency. I am proposing citizen budget workshops where we teach the citizens exactly what our budget processes are, and then they can get involved and understand it better. But clarity is about simplifying the budgets themselves. We get a monthly expenditure report. Do we know how to understand it, though? And so I've got the experience from my other spots that help us to develop the charts and help us understand, actually give context to those expenditures. Thank you.
If we'll hold our applause, please hold your applause.
Right, Ryan Doctor again. So as a father, I have to budget, and I actually budget pretty much every day, right? Every single time I spend money, it goes into a budget sheet. I keep track of it. I don't see why the county government shouldn't be able to do the same thing. And so in the short term, yes, cutting unnecessary spending is an important priority, but also, as Dirk mentioned, transparency in the budgeting process, frequent review is incredibly important. In the long term, I think we do need to make investments so that we can turn liabilities into assets for the county, that we can actually make money and secure a better financial future for the county. That way, we can hopefully avoid taxing or increasing property taxes as much or as frequently. Thanks.
Kind of missed the applause in between. Yeah, Mark Hurd. So priority for budgeting for me. So first thing is my perspective on the budget is, I think it's just a basic concept of budgeting, but a financial budget is nothing more than a manifestation on paper of a plan. It's the way in which we will fund or accomplish a goal through and identify the financial means and trajectory to get that done. So in order to do that, we have to have the plan first. For government, as I mentioned in my opening, my core belief or base perspective on government's role is public safety. That's law enforcement on the, with the sheriff's office side as well as the county attorney's office side. Both are equally important in the process for public safety. In addition to that, there's emergency response with fire and the continuity through our community of sharing the resources and collaborating with the fire or the police department of other cities within our community, as well as the sheriff's office, is a great thing that makes our community a part of what makes our community so great, is that interlocal or interagency cooperation. And we share expenses that way. And that's a great way to help keep costs low for everyone and keep the level of service for public safety high. Priorities like that will continue to be my priority. They've been my priority for the last 20 years. In Hyde Park City, where I was part of the police commission board for North Park Police Commission, the shared department between North Logan and Hyde Park, and in my time with the sheriff's office and collaborating there. So again, priority for office, cover our base services, public safety.
Thanks, Mark. I'm Craig Ander. Thanks, Mark, for that explanation of public safety. That has to be a high priority. As I understand it, we're getting about 48 cents of every dollar is going to public safety, and it needs to be high. We need to protect ourselves. More than getting into the specifics, though, I want you to understand how I approach budgeting. I teach in my financial lit classes that you can have anything you want in this world. You just can't have everything you want in this world. And I think that applies to Cache County. You listed off a list of things that are great things. I'd love to have them all, but we can't have everything. And so, more important than just me making a decision, this is a collaborative effort. We need to decide what's most important to us, and we need to focus our budgets there. It'll be very easy to put our budgets in place when we set priorities. And that priorities needs to involve more people than just myself. Again, I go to the concept of fiscal responsibility. To me, that's recording numbers correctly. I want to be fiscally frugal. That's in my nature. That's how I approach things. And that's the way I want to approach the budgets on all that we do. And that is maximizing the dollar, every dollar we get. It's sacred funds when people pay taxes, and we need to maximize that. I get that that's a little more general of an answer. But to go through all those specifics would be very difficult without the input of many people. But I give you the core concepts that I'll use in how we'll help to make those decisions so that we can achieve and have the kind of life we want to have. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Micah Safeson. Again, for me, the priority is going to be what are the statutory responsibilities of Cache County government? Now, where do we go to find those responsibilities? We go to state code, we go to the Cache County Organic Act, which is sort of like the county's charter, and we go to county code. I know all three of those very well. Cache County government, and really all county government in Utah, is meant to be quite limited. It was mentioned that 47 cents of every dollar goes towards public safety. That about sums it up. That about sums up about half of what Cache County's responsibilities are. Public safety. Now, that makes it hard for someone like me, who is very committed to limited government, to low taxes and low government spending, to come in with a machete to a budget. I don't want to do that with public safety. Absolutely not. So what do we do then? Then I think we need to have a more collaborative relationship, a more deliberative relationship with the ultimate decision makers who sit here on the dais, and the ones who are actually out there spending the money and performing these services. We need to improve the relationship between the council and the executive branch. Like I mentioned in my opening, we need to get a budget in their hands earlier. Get it to them in the summer. The Cache County Council every year has to make a decision about a property tax increase by the end of August. By the end of August. They already had to do that. But when they don't have a budget in the end of August, how do they make an informed decision? So we need to help them make that informed decision. So we need to get the budget to them earlier. The state, their fiscal year starts July 1st. The governor's budget is delivered a whole 6 months in advance. I don't think it's too much to ask for county government to act in roughly the similar manner. I intend to do that. Thanks.
I'm George Daines. Thank you, Natalie. I do have a budget priority, and it's very simple and it's easy to state. Cache County budget is too high, it's growing too fast, and it's growing beyond our ability to support it. I have to be honest about it. I've looked at it. I've looked at the rate of increase of our property tax revenue. Now, as more people build in the county and so on, we have a slow increase in our property tax revenue. If you increase the budget more rapidly than you increase your revenue sources, you get a shortfall. The county has been scrambling to find revenue to cover that shortfall. 10 years ago, our property taxes covered 70% of our general fund budget. Today, our property taxes cover 33, 34, 35% of our general fund budget. This train is moving beyond our ability to support it. I'm all in favor of the processes they talk about, transparency, having budgets earlier, but the core thing I'm telling you is we're spending too much money. We don't have enough controls on it. We have to be more efficient. We can't sustain the amount of expending that is occurring. We need to get on top of it. It needs to be ground down to the very minimums, and then we need to decide if we have extra, what we want to do with it. So my priority very clearly is to get control of this financial train. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate a little extra time. I have been in charge of helping our treasurer with our budget the last 13 years, 12 years. And the thing that's most important is you get the budget from your different superintendents, from your different departments. You talk with them, you work them out, you find out, you prioritize what's the most important. You make some difficult cuts, and we've had to make some hard cuts. But the important thing to me is that you make a budget and you make it to, the revenues to be more than what your budget is. So there's some extra things that can be cut back on. I think one of the things that need to be done is to look at maybe different contracts and that we've had. Do you need to, we require that if it's anything over $5,000, you get 3 bids. How long has it been since you've rebid projects? It's amazing that makes. You'll have some that are sometimes almost double what the lowest bid will come in. So that's something that I think is important. Also, reviewing it very closely. We review our budget every month. I give a budget update to our council. And then I also meet with our department heads, and we go over their budget. And if we see that they're getting a little ahead of where they're at, where they should be, we say, you better slow down, because when it's gone, it's gone. And so I also want to say another thing that's helped us with budget has been contracting with the county. Police services are really expensive. And contracting with the county has helped save us a lot of money, and they provide great service.
Man, we have some good candidates. I'm excited about this, actually. I'm going to sneak over here and grab some cards because I want to see those other ones, though. There's a few of these that you're just going to have to answer. All right, I'm only going to give you 1 minute to do this one. I'm sorry, it's a chair priority, but I want to hear this. Have you always been a Republican? Have you always been a Republican? And how many times have you ever gone to a county council meeting before Zook resigned? Whoever would like to start may.
All right. Once again, my name is Ryan Doctor. I have always been a Republican. Actually, the Republican Party goes deep in my family. My grandfather was Republican National Chairman under Ronald Reagan. So in as much as those principles were taught to my mom, which were taught to me, I have been a Republican and very conservative in all of my beliefs. As far as Can you repeat the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
How many times have you been to a county council meeting before Zook resigned?
So unfortunately, I've only been there once. You know, I am kind of new, as I mentioned, to the political scene. That it certainly would not be the case if I was elected. So, but I do care about the matters of Cache County, and I'm committed to that.
Hey, can you guys please say your name? A lot of us, we can't see you, so we can only hear you.
Okay. And I'm Ryan Doctor. I'm not sure if I said that or not. Thank you. Okay.
I'm Mark Hurd. So, as I mentioned previously, I'm currently on the county council, so I've been to almost every meeting for the last 3 years, 2 years and 9 months. And prior to that, I don't know a lot. I came quite often as a county delegate, very often when I was on the Hyde Park City Council. We were engaged. You know, this is back to the time I maybe shouldn't put people on the spot, but I was involved with Hyde Park City when Lynn Lemon was our county executive, and I've been coming to county council meetings on and off since that time. So I'll say very often since 1998. Oh, what was the other part of the question? There's two parts, right?
Have you always been a Republican?
Oh, that's probably the most important question.
Yes, it is.
The day I could register to vote, I registered as a Republican, and I have always been registered as a Republican. I've served as the Republican Party vice chair and the interim chair and state and county delegate multiple times. I won't try to cap how many, but basically for the last 20 years.
I'm Craig Ander, and I've always been a Republican, and so that's an easy question. I have gone to many council meetings before Zook was the executive, and then since then, because of time constraints, I have listened to many on YouTube, and I always try to review them, but I have not been to any while he has been the executive.
Yep, this is Micah Safeston again. I have always been a Republican. 18 years old, I was the vice chair of actually the College Republicans at a little school in Virginia that I went to, did my freshman year of school at. I was very proud Republican then. I grew up a Rush baby, to use a term. And the other question about county council meetings, I've been to many county council meetings, as I mentioned earlier. Having worked for the county council, went to every meeting. In fact, my job was included setting up all of the meeting room, turning on the lights in this room, sometimes vacuuming this room, and setting up the chairs. Been to many council meetings before Zook resigned, yes.
My count is 144 meetings were attended before Mr. Zook was chairman. 6 years.
Your name, sir?
Pardon me?
Name?
George Staines, still. I've always been a Republican. I've been a Republican probably longer than anybody else here has. I go all the way back to Eisenhower.
Stephanie Miller. I've been to quite a few county council meetings through the years, so I can't really give you a count. But I have always been a Republican. I've always made sure I voted. I've been a state delegate once, and that was a great experience. One thing I want to say about the Republican, though, is I am a Republican for Republicans that have Republican values, because I'm seeing some of that switch. And so we've got to make sure that we're keeping those values.
Dirk Anderson. I've always been a Republican. I remember very proudly going to my first election when I was 18, and I voted for George Bush Sr. And it was interesting because I tried to get out of my dad, who he voted for, and he said, "That's my business. You need to decide for yourself." And I appreciated that, but I also really wanted to know who he voted for. And so how many council meetings have I been to? If you times 3.5 years times 2 meetings a month, I did not make all of those meetings, but in the last year I've made almost all of them, sitting here in the chair on behalf of the county executive. They are good meetings, especially lately. And I'm excited for the collaboration and the work that we're doing together.
All right, there's just a couple more that we haven't covered. Rumor is that the work environment in this county has become toxic. Another one is discussing your opinion of the change of our county government and why you would support that or not support that. And right next to that, they want you to discuss talking about how you're going to address these kinds of changes and to protect our county. It was kind of loaded.
Hey.
It's kind of loaded. I will give you a whole 2 minutes.
A whole 2 minutes to answer those three very different points.
You
Okay.
are welcome to talk on any one of those.
Thank you. This is Mark Hurd. So, yeah, all work environments face challenges. In a government body like Cache County, those challenges become very public very quickly. And we do have things we need to work work on to resolve, and there's been challenges in the past. When we experience different perspectives, we have to find common ground to move forward, but there's also safeguards, policies, processes, procedures, and to address a lot of the concern that has been known or made public about the work environment in Cache County. We, the county council, and all the other elected officials and department heads have been working tirelessly, I would say, to define new processes or policies, to establish, to update existing policy that may have been a little bit short-sighted initially, or to find the ways that we need to mature the organization. I mean, it's hard to say that about a long-standing entity that's been around so long, but the realities are that with technology comes a lot of different workplace challenges, and we've experienced several positive changes recently with policy, the Ordinance and Policy Committee, which I serve on, which is also works well with the Audit Committee, which I also serve on, to ensure that we are following our policies and procedures. So basically boil that down to, and I know I ran out of time on just one of the subjects, but focus on ensuring that we have a clear, effective policy, and then hold everyone accountable to it.
They want you to talk on the toxic environment, the change in government, and how to protect cash from all of this happening. Changes of form of government.
I'm Craig Ander, and I remember Ronald Reagan, Mr. Dane, so you were right. You've been a Republican longer than I have. So, but I want to talk about the toxic environment. My neighbor works in the county, and I talked to her as I was researching what are the issues and what needs to be addressed. And she said it's not an ideal environment. I called many others, and I'm getting similar responses, that it's not an ideal environment. And that's not good. If we're not feeling like it's an ideal environment where we work, how are we servicing the people that we're servicing ideally? And so we've got to improve that, and I think first of all, we have to understand that culture drives performance. And we've got to create a culture in the environment, in the government workplace that is positive and upbeat, so then that we can drive performance. And so this is important. I have spent many years creating culture and managing that culture with people. And I've seen it. Once your culture's in place, it resolves most of the issues. Instead of running around putting out fires, you're moving forward and you're growing together. Now, people ask me, what is that culture? The core elements of a great culture is safety. People have to feel safe. People have to be heard. Okay? People have to have excellent expectations. Okay? And then people have to be championed. They've got to be seen for the work they do. That culture needs to exist to have a great working environment. The other thing I'll just dress on quickly as the time is running out is that the leadership comes through experience, and leadership needs somebody to lead. And when we have proper leadership, we can go forward and build culture. We can create a vision, and we can grow these principles that we want to see here in Cache County.
This is Micah Safeson again. On the workplace environment, I worked here. I know it. I know what's going on. On day one, as county executive, I plan to sign an executive order enforcing current county policy. This executive order will guarantee the right of every county employee to speak with any other elected official in the county, including and especially the county council. The county executive should not be in a position where he's saying all communication with any other elected official will be channeled through me. That's inappropriate. I want to build a culture of trust, and that will start on day one. Now, moving on to the form of government. I'm supportive of Cache County's unique form of government. There are 4 types of county government available to counties in the state of Utah. Only 2 have the form of government that we have here in Cache County. And the other one is Salt Lake County. And they're huge, and they're crowded, and they elect mostly Democrats. Can't really compare ourselves to Salt Lake County, so sometimes we feel kind of alone. But I would suggest that we have the best form of county government available to us. We have separation of powers, a separate legislative and executive branches. Other forms of county government don't enjoy that. Now, when things aren't going well, when we have that culture of mistrust, when we have a culture of antagonism, that form of government suddenly becomes very difficult. And it's especially difficult for our employees. But when there is a culture of trust, when employees who are on the front lines, who see fraud, waste, and abuse immediately, they're the ones who see it first. When they're able to hold their bosses accountable, then this form of government works the best. So I think we ought to protect it.
I'm George Daines. My experience with toxicity is to deal very directly and strongly with the individuals that cause that. There just isn't any place for that. I'm going to try and explain a little bit about your county government. I know I have a history that I probably ought to tell you. When I was a young attorney, I represented several cities. The mayors in Logan and in all of the cities had an organization. They did not like the way in which county government was operating. It had a 3-commission form. They wanted to change that. They drafted me, unpaid, to work on drafting the law that would go to the referendum. I drafted the law, and that was passed with 60%. I was kind of the campaign chairman because all the rest of them were running cities. The statutes that we used was new. We were the first county to do this in the state of Utah. The legislation was new. There was really only a couple of choices, but I was involved in making those choices. Let me just tell you that the political battle between the mayors and, forgive me, the Republican Party over whether this form was going to be changed was tenacious. We made the decision as a group of mayors that we could deal with a situation where the commissioners were displaced with a council and an executive. But the other officers in their offices were popular. And we made the decision not to deal with changing the other elected offices. There is that weakness in the law. We had thought it would be changed later. Some of the problems you're having now involve that weakness. That's something that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, Stephanie Miller. I'm going to share with you the parable of the roll of toilet paper. I see my husband go, whoo. So when I took over as administrator, we had a lot of people upset with each other and feeling like they were doing things wrong and they were doing things wrong. And so I came up with this parable of the roll of toilet paper, and I brought the roll out, and I said, how many of you believe that the toilet paper comes over the top? And I had them raise their hands, and it was a majority. And I said, that's what I've always thought. And I would even go in other people's restrooms and correct it if I needed to. And then I says, how many of you believe it goes under? And there were some that raised their hands, not as many. And I said, I always thought I was right until I learned why people do it that other way. Because if it goes under and you've got cats or children, it's not going to unroll. And so I encourage them and to be able to talk to each other and find out, say, why is it you're doing what you're doing? Understand, and maybe you can help them do something better, or maybe you can understand what they're doing.
Dirk Anderson. Parents, when your children have unrolled the toilet paper, how many of you have asked your children to go in and roll it back up? How many of them did that successfully? Do we have a toxic work environment in Cache County? I would say the majority is no. How is our morale, though? It's been low. Sometimes with this group telling you about my education isn't good. I went back when I was teaching 5th grade and got a PhD in leadership. And I actually studied positive leadership theory. And then as soon as I got that, finished my dissertation and defended it, guess where I came to work? Cache County. Boy, was I in for a ride. So it seems that my education continued, because I knew that truly positive leadership actually improves the culture and the productivity. We're not talking fluffy, good job, give everyone a blue ribbon. We're talking positive, good feedback, honest and open relationships. And that is how I have acted my entire time. Now, as the number 2, have I struggled to try to help get positive leadership theory into the county? I absolutely have struggled. But I've tried to display it. And if you ask county council members now, I'm working really hard to support them and work with them, even in the last year when my boss was still here. And trust me, I've given him plenty of advice, but it was up to him whether he would take it or not. Form of government, either one will work great. But really our challenge right now is the personalities. And we need good people who will work in good faith and disagree very hard in private and then go be good to each other in public. Thank you.
Ryan, Doctor. Toxic work environments are very destructive to productivity. I've firsthand experienced some toxic work environments in my career. That's never fun. In my experience, the best way to overcome that is through communication and through trust. Being able to hear somebody out, because a lot of times people get really frustrated when they don't feel like they're being heard. And so being able to hear them out, and consider in good faith their suggestions, and then also be able to offer some trust. When you don't give people the opportunities to succeed, that can erode their confidence in themselves and also in their workplace. And so those are those are ways that I believe that you can improve on a toxic work environment. As far as the form of government is concerned, I also agree that separations of powers and having checks and balances is important, and so I support maintaining the executive council format that we currently have.
Is there anyone that I have not covered your question? Let me walk out here. Is there anyone out here that I have not covered a question that you would like to hear?
I'm hearing a lot of great cutting strategies, and I think that's important. But I'm also curious, what's your growth strategy?
Hello, I'm Craig Ander, and I think you guys deserve to be talked to too. Since the question came from out here, you're going to listen to it. I believe growth is one of the key issues here that we've got to face in Cache County. You know, I'm very concerned. Right now, the house prices are high. They're way too high. And what happens is we can't afford to buy the houses that we live in. We can't afford to buy them. So who's buying these houses when they come for sale? It's people from outside the area. Now, there's nothing wrong with people outside the area, but if we want to maintain our culture, we've got to invest in our greatest assets. And our greatest assets, the things we spend the most money on, are our children. We have to be able to find ways to put children, our youth, so that they can learn here, they can grow here, they can maintain the values that we hold important and keep them here. And that's not going to happen unless we build housing and provide housing that they can afford to live in. Now, this isn't only just a county issue. We're not going to have, the county can't provide all this. This has to be a coordinated effort. But we have to find a way to build housing so that young people can stay here in this county. If we want to keep the values here, it has to come from our kids. And so we've got to find a way to keep them here. So what am I saying? I'm saying we've got to find a way to build for our children. And that's building cheaper housing for them. And I would love to drop taxes. I would love to drop taxes. But we've got to see how to do that. Because if we're going to grow, it's going to take investment to grow. Rob, how am I doing on time? 15 seconds. Well, with that, I think this is one of the key issues, and it's going to take a coordinated effort with not only the county, but the city, so that we can make sure we can provide this for our people.
I'll head over there as well. This is Micah Safeson. Those of you back here may not have seen me before, but all the way out here. So I think that a government, but including and especially a county, has to think about priorities when we talk about growth. What sort of things are you going to prioritize? And I'm here to tell you what I'm going to prioritize when we talk about growth. I want to prioritize kids and families, so very similar to what Craig just said, that we need to make housing affordable, but we also need to prioritize, I think, our agricultural heritage that Cache County is so well known for. Now, Cache County is the land use authority only for the unincorporated areas of the county. In other words, Cache County makes growth decisions really only about the very rural parts of the county, where the cities haven't grown into. And so what this means when we're talking about growth and prioritizing affordable housing, what that actually means is that we often need to keep some of this land in agriculture. Because if we start building dense subdivisions on agricultural land, well, dense in the county means like 2-acre subdivisions or 5-acre subdivisions. That's dense. But of course, that's not dense. And so I would tend to lean towards protecting this land, keeping it in agriculture, if it's appropriate, but first and foremost, working with the cities, saying, what do you need? If there's a rezone that's adjacent to a city, I think we ought to listen to their plans. Say, hey, maybe they plan on incorporating this area someday. Cities are going to be more equipped to solve this housing crisis, this housing affordability crisis that Cache County is facing than the county. If the county tries to solve it, then we're just going to have acres and acres of low-density housing that is very expensive.
He already has a mic.
I better run out there as well. I'm George Daines. I appreciate your attendance here. I hope you're enjoying the show. You know, as I think about what's going to happen in Cache County with growth, I think that we ought to start with some principles. And one of those principles is that growth needs to occur within the cities, that we can't compete with the cities in terms of offering municipal services. That's one of the things that's causing our difficulties financially, is we're trying to do things more than we can afford to do them. The county, I don't think, should do anything to encourage dense development in the unincorporated county. I think we should avoid that, and we should encourage that kind of growth in the cities. So that's how I would suggest we handle growth. But more important than just houses is we're going to grow in terms of people one way or another. I drive up to Richmond and I see development going that way. I go along to Lewiston and I don't see much there yet, but I'm sure that it's going to happen. This county is going to be 200,000 people soon, and we need to build a government and a culture that accepts that and makes us successful. Thank you.
I'll follow the trend. I can at least see who's out here. Thank you for coming. When we talk about growth, oh, my name is Stephanie Miller. Thank you. When we come to growth, you know, as a county, we need to be able to realize that cities are they need to have the right to be able to grow their cities as they want. I don't like having the government overreach into them. You know, what works good for us in one city doesn't work for another. An example, when we lost Logan City doing our waste collection, we got together as all of the county and mayors, and we talked about what was going to work the best. We got bids. We listened to they gave us examples of how it would work and budgets or the prices. And when it was all done, the majority of us chose to go one way. But there were some that didn't work the best for them. And we had some that wanted to go with another company. We had some that wanted to do their own garbage service. I didn't want to do our own garbage service. And so, you know, we went a different way, but I respect that, and we have to see that there's those differences. Growth is going to happen. We've got to make sure that that we've got the amount of water that we need. I appreciate the water studies that are being done right now to make sure that we know what we've got, because we can't give something that we don't have.
Dirk Anderson, wouldn't want to buck the trend. Hello. Oh, geez, there's Bart too. Okay. How do we grow? Together. It has to be together. There are a couple of organizations where the mayors are involved, and I've been attending those meetings for the last 3 years. And they need to have their input, and we need to do it together. Who knows when we're at about 145 right now, 145,000. Who knows what decade we get another 45,000? I'm cheating a little bit, so that's not fair. 2045. That's only 20 years. If we're not planning now and working together, it will plan us, right? You have to play the ball. Don't let it play you. How do we grow? We've got to do it wisely. But the question was, you've heard a lot of good cut proposals. Actually, you haven't. You've heard theories. And there are a few more places we can cut. I actually agree with Micah where he said we need to analyze the statute to see what are we required to do. But then after we do that, we've got to think about the standards, and we have to grow wisely. But also, we need the citizens to know, and for the council to understand when we might need to raise taxes. I think we need to look at it every year. Did I say we need to raise taxes every year? No, I did not. But we need to keep up with the steady growth so that it's not all of a sudden raising taxes by 25%. And that's a shock that comes to the citizens. And it shouldn't be a shock. We should all be on the same page and grow together. I think I'm out of time.
Hello, I'm Ryan Doctor. It's nice to see all of you kind folks out here. As far as growth is concerned, growth is going to happen whether we like it or not. Even if it's just our kids or our grandkids that are just staying in Cache County, it's going to happen no matter what. And so I would focus on pragmatic growth. Are we growing in a balanced way as opposed to just building a bunch of residential and not keeping up with infrastructure? I think we need to keep that infrastructure with the pace of our growth. And we also need to bring in businesses. We need to have partnerships with businesses, sell our county to businesses that could come and provide high-paying jobs. You know, the matter of having high-priced housing is a difficult one to solve because everybody wants to live in Cache County. That's a good thing. It's a good thing that everybody wants to live here because it's a great place. But in order for people to be able to afford the cost of rising house prices, they need to have higher paying jobs. And so perhaps that's the way that we should be looking at it and making sure that we're also growing in terms of jobs and growing in terms of infrastructure in addition to our residential needs.
I'll be the last to make the parade. Oh man, lots of people out here. Great. Hey, my name's Mark Hurd. Thank you for coming. Sorry we don't have space for everyone, but I'll take just a minute, face this group. Sorry. So on the subject of growth, there's 3 parts I think I want to hit on this. Hopefully I can make it through the time on touching each one. Growth as far as population. We've got to have a plan. I feel like Cache County currently has a pretty good plan. The county council is well aware of the priorities and the values that make Cache County great. And my wife's probably ready to roll her eyes when I launch into my famous saying of, we can't be surprised that when we create heaven on earth that people want to move in. We have to have a plan that we can grow and keep the character and the values that make the place so great that people want to move in. And I have a proven track record of doing so for the last 20 years as an elected representative and the policy setting body for governing or regulating density and growth. On that, we also have to have a plan that is complies with state and federal guidelines. Along with that goes a healthy understanding of those guidelines and the willingness to push back. Local government, it gets blamed for housing prices all the time, but I guarantee local government is not the problem with housing prices. There isn't a problem if you value the free market. It is the market. Government may be the obstacle. We need to have a plan for our community character to be what we want our community to be. That is the plan for growth. On the other side, for the organization to grow, I'm going back to a previous question, talking about toxic environment or morale. There's lots of ways to define the opinion, but part of it is when we're underpaying people, it's a problem. There's plenty of evidence out there, if you participate in any of the budget meetings we've had, that we are a well-managed county, but we do have a problem, or not a problem, but we are on the low side for wages comparable in almost every category. If we want to grow and have the community we want, we have to be mindful of that and take positive steps. Thank you for letting me run long.
So I was given this question a couple of times now, and I was avoiding it because it was just addressed to one specific candidate, and I was really trying not to put anyone on the hot seat. So I walked over and I gave it to him, and the first thing he says is, "Oh, let me address this right now." So I'm going to let him put himself on the hot seat, and he can address this question.
Can I at least stand and not sit in the hot seat?
Yes, you
Thank
can
you.
stand in the hot seat.
I'm Craig Ander. The question that came to me is this for Ander. Your sister is on the council. Please address this conflict. Doesn't surprise me at all that she's on the council and that I'm running for county executive. We were taught that when there's a problem, go to work and fix the problem. And so that's how we were raised. We worked together. I worked with her. I worked with my other siblings from when we were young people. And so we do that. I think there's others on this council that have some conflicts too. If they wanted to address them, they could. But I have made this very public. I put it right on my website that my sister is on the council. Now, there's a couple things that I think are important to understand this. The council and the executive are two separate entities. One is not necessarily the boss of the other. I've had the question asked of me, am I running so that I can just do whatever the council wants? No, I'm not running just to do whatever the council wants. I'm running because I see a void in leadership, and I could bring leadership to this role. Am I running because I want to collude with my sister? No, we don't collude in professional matters. You know, if you could sit around the dinner table with us, you would see that we don't always see eye to eye on things, and that's okay. What we've learned because of the way we were raised is we can disagree, and after the fact, we love each other dearly. And so I can see the perception that it can create a conflict, but I can promise you this, it will be handled in a professional manner. I will do what is best for the county executive, just as I expect her to do what's best for her county council seat. Also, I've been in this situation before to a degree. Maybe it's not the exact same, but it's similar. I was a football coach. I have a son. He comes up and he's in the program. And I don't know if any of you have been football coaches, but if you have, you would know that there's not very many positions out there that are criticized as much as a football coach is. Go sit in the stands and you'll hear him criticize the football coach. It's okay. I can take that stuff. I'll jump in the hot seat anytime if that's what needs to be done. When I coached my son, we had very clear communication with the parents. We acknowledged that it existed. I put another coach in charge of coaching him, deciding on his playing time. And then when it was time to play, that coach decided. My son he was on the team his freshman year and didn't play. And if anyone had the authority to let him play, it was me. But that coach hadn't decided he could play. I had to be a dad at home and a coach on the field. And I share that experience to not say it's the same, but to say it's similar. And I understand what it means to work with her. She is a very intelligent person. She's done a lot of good and will continue to do a lot of good for the council. It is my hope that I don't impede her work. But I can promise you this, we both have a work to do, and we will go after it, and we will solve problems, and we will carry a vision that will make our county better. Now, systematically, as I addressed earlier, the system is set up that it would be very difficult for us to do anything that would be contrary to what the council wanted to do.
Well, it was good enough you vacated the whole front row.
I was
If
that
there's
boring.
anyone-
These are
If
my
there's anyone
friends.
that wants to come in, we now have our front row clear. I know we just gave him airtime. Is there anything that I need to let anyone else
You know,
talk
I
about?
would love to hear the big challenge that these people all see that they need to overcome to earn the respect of the delegates. I think one of my challenges is that my sister was on the council. But I think these people have different challenges, and if they wanted to respond to their challenge head on, like I did about my sister, I'd welcome that.
I love the fact that your biggest challenge in your adult political career is your sister. As a mother of 5, I get
Thank
it.
you.
Is there anyone else who would like the mic? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, I would love some advice on handling my sister, but we can deal with that later. This is Micah Safeston. This is Micah Safeston. Challenges that I might face on being county executive. I can think of two that I've heard. The first is that it's actually not that dissimilar from Craig's. Is that while I don't have a sibling on the council, I did work for the council. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, 6 of the 7 council members were my boss. I had 7 bosses. And in the executive role, that would no longer be the case. It's no longer the case now. I no longer work for the county council, but it was for a time. Now, what that means is that I do have a very strong relationship with the council. But a couple of things I would point out. First and foremost, the council is not a unified body. They disagree all the time. If you attend county council meetings, you see that disagreement. And they disagree frequently on big issues. Now, I would even say that most of the biggest disagreements they've had have been how to work with the executive. Another big disagreement I think that they've faced, one that I disagree with the majority, is the recent decision to form a form of government study committee. As I mentioned before, I'm very supportive of our form of government. I didn't think we need to look into that. I have disagreements with the council, but these are healthy disagreements. There needs to be friction. I have a relationship with the council that allows me to disagree with them. I stood there at that podium for 2 years, and they often asked me what I thought. They asked me that because they respected my opinion, but they very often disagreed with my opinion. I'll mention one other thing. I'm probably, I think, the youngest one here. I'm 32 years old. I'm young. I haven't been around the block for very long. I haven't managed massive corporations before. But I think that this gets into my fundamental philosophy as county executive. County executive is a leader, yes, but the county executive is also a collaborator. I plan on relying on our excellent department heads and our excellent county council and other elected officials. Most county employees do not report directly to the county executive. They report to a department head, or they report to another county elected official. It's been my plan all along to lean on them, to ask their opinion, to rely on their experience, which is far better, far more expansive than mine, and frankly, more than anyone here on this podium today. Thanks.
Your call.
I'm George Daines. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of you have. Feel free to ask them. I have, 3 minutes?
Hold the mic up.
Okay, Natalie. Seriously, do you have some questions that you'd like me to answer? Go ahead.
I've heard a couple times, similar to Craig's conflict, I've heard people concerned that you have someone that works for Cache Valley Bank.
I guess I'll start that again. I heard several times from delegates, or at least a couple of times, similar concern that Craig mentioned, and that you have an employee of Cache Valley Bank that's on the council, and how would you handle that conflict?
I have an employee. Well, we have a lot of employees, and they serve in lots of positions. In fact, we encourage them. We have the mayor of Nephi and so forth. We want them involved in the community, and Catherine's work on the council is an excellent thing to do. We support her in that. We don't tell her what to do, and she doesn't bring her problems to the bank. But frankly, I think every business ought to be encouraging their employees to participate in local government. I think it's a good thing, and I think we want to do that. We do it everywhere we can. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Certainly there's got to be more questions. Craig, you've got to have me a question. Okay, go ahead.
So this election right now will fill the remaining term of Mr. Zook, which will be December 2026.
Yes.
The filing period will open January 5th of 2026. I would like to see somebody that has intentions of serving another 4 years, not just the year and 3 months of the remaining
Well,
term.
I haven't stated what my intentions are, but I'll tell you clearly what they are. I think there is a work to be done at Cache County. I'm not seeking a job. I don't need the pay. I think there are tasks that need to be done. I've always been self-employed. And frankly, I've worked until the job was done. And I set out the task. I said, I think there's some financial problems. I think there's some relationship problems. Those are two of the big issues that I see. I will be working until those are done, unless the citizens don't let me finish them. But frankly, I do intend to work. I intend to work very hard and very fast, and I want to accomplish that as quickly as I possibly can. That answer your question? I'll be here until the work is done. Craig?
Your time is up, sir.
Is my time up? Okay. Thank you.
Stephanie Miller. To be honest with you, the thing that stands in my way, the biggest hurdle I have to get over is I am not a self-promoter. I serve. I think people see by what I've done and how things have been in our city and between employees, and that it's good. But I am not one to go out and self-promote myself. I expect you to know who I am, I guess, by what I do. But I also want to point out that there's been a lot of things that have been pointed out about the problems in the county. But I think we need to also look at, there's a lot that's right. There's minor things that need to be fixed, but there's a lot that's right. And there's a lot of good people that have given their time and their knowledge, excuse me, to help get the county where they're at. And
Dirk Anderson, how many of you have ever been judged because of your parents? And how many of you thought that when it was good, that was fine? But if they had a different view, you're like, come on, what gives? I am my own man, right? Those of you who have been working in and with the county council and the county in general over the last 3.5 years will not believe the rumors they're hearing about Dirk Anderson from some of, or if there is such a thing as an opponent, which is, that guy's a little too close to the current executive, isn't he? And if you've been watching, you've actually noticed that David Zook has been working very hard with what I will characterize as the whole county. He was very concerned with social issues and taking care of the nonprofits. And what he basically did within 6 months of me being at the county was hand primarily the reins of the county, operating the county to me. I would explain myself humbly as a chief operating officer. If he was the CEO, I considered myself to be the COO, meeting with department heads all the time, trying to get into the elected officials and ask them what they need and what their programmatic needs are and priorities are. In addition, on the first day I was here, when I was sworn in, I should say, that night I went around and shook every council member's hand, and this is what I said: thank you for running. You are the elected official. You earned this position. I am here to serve you. So it's interesting to hear some people say they don't serve the council anymore. I've always considered that I've served the council. Now, I have been telling delegates that my first boss is the people, and that's your very important role in this election. But my second boss is actually, as county executive, is actually the council. They need a county executive that is willing to serve them and serve them well. I am such a policy and budget analyst that if a council member wants to work on a policy that I may not agree with, but they need the data to get it, I am going to give them every piece of data, and I might even tell them an argument they forgot about that would support their proposal, because I believe in rigorous discussion. And I'm just really excited to bring that to bear for the whole county and for the council, as I have been for the last at least year, trying to work with the council, trying to help them get what they've needed. It has been challenging being the number 2 and trying to do that, if that makes sense. So I do appreciate my dad's bald, beautiful bald head, and I'm glad I got that. But when it comes to judging me by the number 1 right now, take pause in that and get to know me and ask those that know.
All right. I think the biggest challenge that, Ryan Doctor, the biggest challenge that I would face is just my inexperience in public service. Certainly that doesn't mean that I don't have experience. I have nearly a decade in the life science industry in biotechnology, where I've had to solve really, really technical and difficult problems. I can bring that analytical mindset to this job. I can use that in order to help solve problems for the county. I think being able to leverage that experience in this position would be a huge benefit to the county. And honestly, not being super involved, or I shouldn't say involved, but not being having a ton of public service experience isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think the founders set up our government so that regular people could come in and serve the government for a while and then go on with their lives. And so I take that as an asset that I've been, like many of you, I'm also a delegate, but you know, I have a job, I have to pay a mortgage, I have to feed and clothe my children, and all of that funnels into my skills that I could bring to being a public servant.
Mark Hurd. So I think maybe, if I remember the question so long ago correctly, but the best way to answer that is I am not conflicted. My purpose in running for this race is clear. I am committed to our community. I'm driven by a desire to be a part of the community I'm in and to maintain and sustain what I value as a priority for the place I live. Nicole and I have always had a priority on we will live where we want to live, and we will work there. We will find the way to do that. So community is top priority for me. And I have a proven track record of allowing my hobby time to be spent in this effort. I also have a part-time job I do not intend to give up, even in the role of the county executive. I very much like the role of water master. I would contend that maybe as a water master you may get a little more flack than a football coach. But it's a top priority for me that we have effective systems for delivering the base services that people expect. And being in that role helps me stay very connected to a service and a different perspective than the day job that I currently have, which I also very much love. And so if there's a conflict for me, it's just, this is a shift for me to consider doing this. I have not been a public employee. I have been a public servant, and full-time public employment is a different avenue than I ever thought I'd consider. I value creating things. I value producing. My current job is in supply chain, and I like having a plan, making a plan, following the plan, and adapting when the plan doesn't work, which is titled logistics. That is the world of logistics, right? And I feel like this experience has helped prepare me for this role, but it'll be a shift. And there's a lot that goes into the role of the county executive, but the base function is to carry out the wishes and will the council sets as priority, as policy. And so I feel like I bring a collaborative effort. I hope that the friendships that I feel we've created with my peers on the council would facilitate that conversation going forward and help strengthen our ability to move Cache County forward in a positive way.
In my short lifespan in the service of my county, I have done many special elections, more than I want to admit to. And of those, this has by far been one of the most pleasant ones in dealing with each and every one of you. I can vouch and say I have every one of these people in a single text thread. So I communicate, and I can tell them all, and I tend to kind of mother them along. Did you all get your papers turned in? Do you all have your dates? Do you all have? And they have been so kind, and I have prompt responses, I have quick thumbs up, and I greatly appreciate it. I have seen a notable reaction time from every one of them that I greatly appreciate. We have 8 minutes left. I am going to go ahead and let this be a mingle time. You're welcome to come and approach and talk, and then as you leave, please make sure that you take everything with you. We want to make sure to take all the papers and flyers, any garbage that's left behind. We want to make sure to leave it better than we got it. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you.